this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to do a three-way Smackdown, or kind of like a 1 against 2 Smackdown. Here we have the brand new Moto X, and we're going to smack it down against the two flagships that are available on most carriers, Samsung Galaxy S4 and the HTC One. And we're going to look at them now. The tale of three smartphones. How do you choose on? Most carriers, you're going to be able to get all three of these phones. Have the Moto X right here, the newest kid on the block. The HTC One, now available also on Verizon, so you've got that on all major U.S. carriers. And here's the Samsung Galaxy S4, which goodness knows is always available on all major carriers. I happen to have the AT&T versions here for our discussion. That really doesn't much matter because no matter which carrier you get these on, you're really getting the same stuff other than some carrier bundled apps. All of these sell for $199 on contract, and there's a 32 gig version available on the Moto X, and on the HTC One you start out with 32 gigs for your $199. There's a 64 gig that's optionally available, depends on your carrier. Samsung Galaxy S4 is a 16 gig, depending on your carrier. You might actually be able to get that with a 32 gig as well. So for your money, for your $199, you're looking at 16, and this one has 32. Now if you want to go up in capacity, it's not too much more money. For example, your Moto X goes from $199 to $249 if you need that much internal storage. While we're talking about internal storage, both the Moto X and the HTC One do not have a micro SD card slot. So for those of you who adore expandable memory, it's the Samsung Galaxy S4 for you. That's something Samsung's always been very good at, giving us removable batteries and giving us micro SD card slots. Speaking of removable batteries, sealed inside on these two. This and this right here, the battery's sealed inside. You can use micro USB based external chargers with this, but you can't swap in the battery on the road. Samsung Galaxy S4, you peel that back cover off and you have access to the battery. You can swap in a spare. When it comes to straight specs, and right now what we're really doing here is we're smacking the Moto X down against the Galaxy S4 and the HTC One, because we already have a separate Smackdown where the HTC One and the Galaxy S4 go at it against each other. So we want to see what this brings to the table versus the other guys. On specs, it's going to be a winner for the Galaxy S4 and the HTC One. I think you guys already know that. And Motorola, now owned by Google, is trying to change things a little bit. Instead of paying money for just out-and-out specs for things that you may not actually need or benefit from, they're trying to do things like add usability features and power-saving features so you have longer battery life while the phone does some more neat things that other phones can't do without wasting battery power. But still, Samsung Galaxy S4 and HTC One both have full HD 1920 by 1080 pixel displays. Our Moto X is 1280 by 720, which is just HD, not full HD in popular lingo. Now all of these you're talking in excess of 300 dpi, so most of us are good old human eyes. If you're holding the phone close, and I mean 10-inch distance or so, you can't see the difference between anything beyond 300 ppi. So if you go from 300 to 400, unless you're Superman and you have those special kryptonite hating eyes, you're really not going to notice the difference. What you might notice more on the Galaxy S4, we have the dreaded pentile matrix. Some people really hate that. It's not an RGB stripe. Both of these have RGB stripes. So there's not an equal number of red, green, and blue pixels, subpixels rather. So you're not getting as many subpixels. That said, you're looking at like 441 ppi there. So you still have so many pixels on there that I think most people will not see the color aliasing on text. However, some of you who have really amazing eyes, you must be out there somewhere, you can probably still see a little color haloing on text. I don't know. While we're talking about displays, as I mentioned here, that's a Super AMOLED display that with a pentile matrix. Super LCD3 for our HTC One. LCD3 is standard LCD technology. You know what it is. It's the most outdoor viewable. Definitely the easiest to see outdoors. Here we got an AMOLED display. And I'll admit, that's kind of my personal favorite. I'm not much on the pentile matrix displays, but the RGB AMOLED displays, they give you those really nice vivid colors. They're more saturated than life, but they're still kind of pleasing and they're balanced. The whites look white here and it's very colorful, and it's not just the Moto X with AMOLED I like. There are other AMOLED ones, including some that Nokia have done with their Lumia phones. You get some of the best of both worlds. You get really zingy colors, but you get a fairly neutral and still in that way realistic presentation. However, in terms of outdoor viewability, the AMOLED displays, not so much, and the glare really starts to become a factor, and the display really can't defeat that if you're outside in bright sunshine. If you're standing outside and you turn the phone to kind of shade it, well, then it's not so much of a problem. So how about build and design? That's always an important topic, and with the Moto X, this gets to be a more complicated discussion. Not because there's a problem with the build quality, but because you can get the standard black woven finish that we have here, or the white woven finish, same thing, only with white, and this is a Kevlar composite. Feels really nice, soft touch finish. Feels great in the hand. What they did here is they tried to make something that would fit in the average hand, so much as there is such a thing as an average hand. We all have slightly different size and shape hands, but it's smaller than the other two, though. It has a 4.7-inch display. Same size as the HTC One, also 4.7-inch display right there. 5 inches on the Galaxy S4, so if those of you who like to really live large and want a little bit more display real estate, you're going to get it. But notice this, and we'll show you the difference in the pocket. See the difference right there in the size of these two guys? Let me tilt that a little bit forward for you so you can really see. Hold it up. Got the same display size in a much smaller package, really. And that's becoming a nice selling point. As smartphones get larger and larger, and I love big screen smartphones too, they do get to be unwieldy. They're hard to fit in a pocket. They fall out of pockets. You need bigger and bigger compartments in your jackets and in your purses, whatever it is you're using. So nice that Motorola actually came up with the idea of saying, hey, how can we give you that big screen and make it fit in the hand? Now the HTC One has a nice curve on the back and a beautiful aluminum unibody design. You probably know all about that by now. That feels pretty nice in the hand too. It's just that it's a little tall, even for my quite large hands. It can feel a little bit more unwieldy, a little bit less uncomfortable. You've got those hard aluminum edges. And lastly, our Galaxy S4, that's going to be the one I pick on. Everybody does. Yes, it's plastic. Yes, we know that. Actually, the curves are fairly comfy. This is a big phone to hold still. And the back is available in your choice of glossy white or glossy black. You may have other colors available depending on your carrier, but the white doesn't show fingerprints. The black one looks just disgusting right away. This does not scream quality. The other two kind of do. They have kind of luxurious Kevlar or aluminum finishes. And now we're going to do the pocketability test here. I've got my little hipster pants on, casual pants, so not too teeny in the way of pockets. And we're going to see just how much goes into the pocket. Here's our HTC One. Quite a lot slips out. That's why whenever I bend over, this kind of squirts out, shoots out, loses it. Now we compare that to the Moto X, who is just a bit shorter, and just short enough that more of it tucks in. You see, it actually fits under the ridge of my pants. It's safe. If I sit down, I probably won't lose it. And lastly, our Samsung Galaxy S4 is same size as the HTC One pretty much, so same deal. It's a little bit shorter. We're just about tucking in though, see? So there's a little bit more pocketability still. It's not quite as tall since it doesn't have those boom sound stereo speakers top and bottom, but still a little bit prone to squirting, especially because it's a slippery bugger, being shiny plastic on the back. Of course, you could put a case on this to make it more grippy, but then it would be even bigger and less likely to fit easily in your pocket. Now with our friend the Moto X, besides these woven finishes here, if you're on AT&T, and who knows what's going to happen with other carriers, it looks like no-go for Verizon, but maybe the others will get it, you've got Moto Maker. So you can actually choose between about 18 colors and then 7 highlight colors and make it your own, which is kind of neat. That's another new thing that Motorola is doing. And that's one of the reasons why their factory is based in the U.S. in Fort Worth, because a lot of customized individual shipping from China is just darned expensive. So you've got some Americans working in Fort Worth putting together your custom phone in 4 to 7 days. Right now it's about 7, I hear, because they've got so many orders coming in, but they're trying to work it so it's always going to be 4. You can also get a kind of engraving, which is really a silk screen on the phone if you want. So that's something kind of new. I mean, granted, you can pick whatever case you want and sort of make it your own, you and the 20,000 other people who bought that case anyway. Just like with the colors on the Moto X. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of lime green Moto X's with magenta highlights, that kind of thing eventually. But the neat thing about the Moto X is they also have these clear cases. So when you choose your own colors, you can put a clear case on it, and those colors still show through. So again, it's kind of the sort of human approach that Motorola is taking to design the phone. Does that mean anything to you, or would you rather just have higher specs? You know best. While we're talking about specs, all of these guys are very fast phones. Now, just like with computers, just like with displays, we're seeing these insane races to have the fastest possible CPUs, and the highest number of pixels, and that's not always something that the user really needs. I mean, we have Windows laptops that are coming out with 13-inch 3000 by 1800 displays that, honestly, it's a bit much, especially the way Windows handles scaling. But Android obviously handles scaling better than that. Not too much of a benefit still for that high resolution. And likewise, I'm going to argue that when it comes to processing, this guy has a 1.7 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro CPU. Now, the S4 Pro, as you know by now, usually has 4 cores, so you've only got half as many cores. That's because Motorola added a couple of companion cores in here. One that handles the voice recognition. This guy is always listening to you, so you can issue voice commands. And you might think, that's just a gimmick, who's going to use it? Sort of like the Samsung Galaxy S4 has so many software features, they're nifty for 2 weeks and then you don't touch them. I find it very useful, and one of the examples that I used was I was playing BioShock Infinite on my computer and I needed to know what time it was. Now my hands and my eyes were very busy shooting bad guys in BioShock. I had this in my pocket. So I just issued the command, OK Google now. What time is it?
The time is 3:59 p.m.
So in my pocket, didn't have to take it out. Loud voice, obviously I could hear what time it was. And then I told myself, well, I should not be playing this game for more than another 30 minutes. So I told it to set an alarm in 30 minutes. So it would remind me to stop playing. There's all sorts of useful things here. I think this is kind of the future of computing. Again, it's another reason why you might want to pay $199 for this phone, even if it doesn't have all 4 cores, like these guys have with their Snapdragon 600 CPUs inside. Experientially, they're all very fast, just as zippy as you could want. Now, the Galaxy S4, well, that's the special case of not always so zippy. As you know, Samsung puts their TouchWiz UI on here. They change a lot of things. They put UI overlays on top. The phone can sometimes bog down. There are more features on here than you can shake a stick at, and if you watched our video review, which you should, of the Galaxy S4, you know what those all are. Honestly, with most of the features on here, I did stop using them after a couple of weeks. The only thing that I still really like is the Smart Stay feature that uses the front camera to stop it from turning off the display if I'm looking at it. That I really like. I sometimes use the split screen window view where you can have 2 apps running side by side, but I find that this screen is still a little too small for that. Most of the time, I'll use that on a Samsung tablet gladly with the bigger display. Not so much on this guy. Now, if we look at the HTC one, also a nice clean Android build. They have customized a little bit. Notice you go up and down instead of sideways. I don't consider that a heavy customization. That's really not going to take away any CPU cycles. They do add this nice touch. I like this. The time and the weather right in your app drawer. Is it totally necessary? You might have a widget on the home screen that does the same thing. Well, sure. But it's pretty lightweight. It doesn't bog down the phone. And of course, there's Blink Feed, which some of you hate, some of you don't hate. This is by default your home screen, and this is a news feed of your social networking stuff, whatever news sites you subscribe to. But you can set something else to be your home screen, like this one right here. You can't get rid of Blink Feed completely. But overall, it's still fairly lightweight. HTC decided to go with less is more kind of thing here, and it's not bogged down with a lot of software like the Galaxy S4 is. While Motorola added things like the touchless voice control on this and the active sleep screen, otherwise they left the UI largely untouched, pretty close to almost giving you a little bit of that Nexus feel. I'm talking about the UI itself, okay? I know some of you are very picky. Yes, it has touchless control. That's not a stock feature. But in terms of the ornamentation of the operating system itself, not much going on here. This clock, in fact, this is a third-party clock. I know some of you are going to say, oh, where'd you get that? So this is something that I actually downloaded from the Google Play Store, and this particular clock, you have a bunch to choose from, does resemble the Droid Ultra clock. So even this clock is not standard. You just get pretty basic stuff on board here. For those of you who like clean experience this night, there's not too much carrier bloatware on here compared to our Galaxy S4, and even our HTC One gets hit with some carrier bloatware. It's hard to avoid, generally speaking. Now, for all of these, there's going to be Google Play editions, there already are, for the Galaxy S4 and our HTC One. So for those of you who want even cleaner experience, you can order directly from Google, and they said that they're going to have a developer edition of the Moto X, which should also be bloatware free. When we talk about the cameras on these guys, this is where it also gets to be very complicated and very different. 2 cameras that are kind of more normal technology and one that's very different. Motorola X 10 megapixel camera on the back, RGB-C sensor that's supposed to give you better low light shots. Now there have been varying opinions on the camera quality of this, and I've actually taken some very good shots. Now color saturation is not very high. That's something that's generally handled in post-processing, which means either your camera application or the camera firmware. I think Motorola should have increased the colors a bit more, because these days most cameras do in firmware increase color saturation because everybody likes better than life vivid colors. This is something you can do with the image editing application that's on the phone or with Photoshop afterwards to bring the colors back. But in terms of sharpness, clarity, and actually handling low light, this 10 megapixel camera with LED flash does a decent job. I'm not going to complain too much about it. I would still say that our Samsung Galaxy S4 overall has the best camera here. Got a 13 megapixel camera on the back. 13, you know, a number is just a number. Sometimes you can have a high megapixel camera that actually, well, kind of stinks. In this case, this is a very good camera. The only thing it's a little slow at is focusing sometimes. Focusing and capturing fast-moving objects. Samsung could stand to work on that a bit. But obviously, you're getting that combination of resolution, which means a lot of photo detail in there, and pretty good low-light performance, considering that it's not doing some of the fancy stuff that the other two competitors are. It does have backside illuminated sensor, which helps. But overall, for those of you who need a lot of pixels, that means those of you who are using this for professional uses, maybe taking pictures for real estate sites, that kind of thing. Even me, I go to a trade show, I need to take a picture of a smartphone that's on display just like that real fast. My camera's the quickest thing I can get to, this camera right here. It's going to work. For those of you who are just doing social networking, putting stuff up on Facebook, all three of these are going to be fine. Lastly, for our HTC One X, we have the 4 ultra pixel camera. This is not a standard megapixel kind of camera. It has larger photosite sensors in here. So even though you have less resolution in terms of file size, in terms of pixels across and up and down, you get some very good shots. It's particularly good at low light. It's not blame-free, shall we say. I do notice that it tends to take purple color-casted photos. It does pretty good with high dynamic range. That means very bright things with some dark elements in the picture. The one thing that is a drawback about this is it's still effectively a 4 megapixel resolution image. So if you do need it for something like serious photos for a website, again, if you're a realtor and you're taking pictures of a house, exterior, interior, that kind of thing, if you're at a trade show like me and you want to take a picture of a camera where you want to put something really sharp on your website in fairly large size image, that's where this camera starts to fall apart a little bit. But if you're just, again, doing it for social networking, casually putting it up on your web page, more than fine. The average person wouldn't even notice the difference. It does have HTC Zoe, speaking of features I used for 2 weeks and then stopped, and that's where you can take a picture with the camera, and it's really sort of like a 3-4 second Vine animated movement, a combination of photos patched together. It seemed really neat at first, and then just like the Vine service, honestly, I got bored with it. I didn't really find I ever used it again. Now, how about audio quality? If we're talking about the built-in speakers, you know who wins. It's the HTC One with its boom sound. Large stereo speakers on each side here, facing right at you, the way speakers should be. What a novel thought, isn't it? Why don't all manufacturers do that? Because it makes for a bigger phone. Obviously, that's why our HTC One is so tall this way. You've got to have room for these speakers. Anyway, loud, clear, full, nice sounding audio. Definitely going to be the best. It has Beats audio, for better or worse. I don't mind it so much. That will enhance your bass pretty much automatically. Next favorite would be the Moto X. It has a large speaker driver on the back and uses Wolfson audio, so you get some very good quality audio. It's pretty loud, actually. Not going to be as good sounding as the HTC One, but not bad. Our Galaxy S4, okay audio. It's cell phone audio, decent cell phone audio. Little speaker down here. Not a very good placement, because most of us tend to hold our phone like that. And oops, I've just muffled my speaker, haven't I? Pretty good audio out through headphones, though. I can say that for the phone. Certainly the HTC One with the Beats audio enhancement sounds very nice through headphones. I think most people like that kind of Beats sound. And the Moto X also sounds very good through headphones. And all these can output through Bluetooth as well. When we're talking about battery life, again, the Samsung Galaxy S4 does get the win right here because it has a removable battery for those of you who need that feature. Other than that, you're looking at similar run times for all of these, and also similar battery capacities. They're not so wildly different from each other that becomes important. In terms of battery life, for me, so far, the Moto X has run a bit longer than the others, by about a half hour in terms of screen on time, at the most. Next would be the HTC One, and then lastly is my Galaxy S4, because that's running so many darn Samsung applications, even though it disables some of them, that just really can take something of a toll on battery life. All of these should certainly make it through a day on a charge with moderate use. That means from 7 a.m. until you go to bed at night, or a little bit shorter depending on how hard you hit that GPS, how much streaming audio you're watching at work when you should be working, that kind of thing. Where Moto gets the nod here is the fact that they have the always on voice command. That's something that used to take a lot of power. Now with Samsung S Voice, you know, we have S Voice on here, and you can actually tell S Voice to listen all the time. So here we are in S Voice settings, lots of settings here. You can have it open via the home key, you can use location data, you can have it hide nasty words if you want to. You can have it, more importantly, work with a wake up command and wake up in the lock screen and set a wake up command, which is always a good idea. The thing about that is if you enable always on listening, it really tanks your battery life. So Motorola, that's why they have that low power core just dedicated to listening to your voice, so it doesn't kill your battery life the way it will with S-Voice. Also, S-Voice, for those of you who've used it, well, you know my opinion, it's not really very good at voice recognition. I like Google's built-in voice recognition just fine, but S-Voice is a little bit quirky. So yes, you can do the same thing on the Galaxy S4. Yes, you will also really hurt your battery life, and no, it in general doesn't work as well. And the Moto X comes closer to supporting more natural language kind of queries, which is nice. It's getting closer to Siri than S-Voice has so far. So how about call quality and data? Oh, all excellent. No matter which one you're going to go with here, very nice call quality, clear, adequate audio, certainly through the earpiece, and of course you can use Bluetooth with those as well. It's a real toss-up. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. They're all quite good. In terms of data speeds, likewise, we've run speed tests on all of these. If you watched our video reviews, you know that, and you're looking at pretty much the same data speeds. We reviewed these phones on AT&T, on Verizon, and some other carriers, depending on the phone you're talking about, and generally speaking, they're all top performers, as they should be, because they're all $199 higher-end phones. They all have the mobile hotspot feature, so you can use these as a wireless modem for your tablet or your laptop, too. All three phones have dual-band Wi-Fi. In fact, it's Wi-Fi 802.11 AC. They have Bluetooth 4.0. They have NFC as well. All have GPS that works quite well. So you're looking at the same specs there. All have good front-facing cameras as well. So there you have it. Three flagship phones. Obviously, two of them a little higher on the spec sheet for CPU and for resolution, but otherwise all offering really compelling features. You're not going to go wrong with any of these phones. And you know who you are. Some of you are HTC fans right away, or you just love the metal. And I can't blame you. I mean, I love this phone. It's just gorgeous looking, feels good. I have actually dropped it, and it has not dented so far. Some of you are Samsung fans. You've been using the Galaxy S3 or S2. You're used to that whole system. You like the way it works, and you want it. Some of you have been Motorola fans, or maybe you want something that's a little closer to the mothership. That is Google. There's the Moto X. If I were to pick, and this is just me personally, it used to be the HTC One was my pick over the Galaxy S4, although I really like the Galaxy S4 camera a lot. But right now, since I got the Moto X, now it's a little bit of new kid on the block syndrome. It's newer, it's shiny, you know, I like it. I'm finding that the fact that it's so easy to hold in the hand, that it stays in my pocket, just a great size. The voice features, the active notifications, where all you have to do is pick up the phone and see I've got a little notification. If I email, whatever, it would tell me right there. I find I use this a lot more. I really like these features. So I might personally go Moto X, HTC One, Galaxy S4 for my needs. Now your needs are different, and understandably, there's lots of good things about each of these phones. With the Galaxy, you get lots of software features, high-end camera. The HTC One, you get this incredible build quality, full 1080p LCD that's very viewable outside. With the Moto X, you get that human kind of thing going, plus the ability to customize it if you're on AT&T using Moto Maker. So there's our smackdown between the Moto X, the Samsung Galaxy S4, the HTC One. I mean, no matter which phone you get, you're getting a really nice phone, and you're probably going to be really happy with it, but hopefully you've seen some of the differences between these and why, even though the Moto X doesn't have the on-paper specs of the other two, you might still want to go with it. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to watch our video review of each of these smartphones, read our written reviews, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.